You're listening to Politics, a Harry Potter reread podcast focusing on politics in the wizarding world. I'm Adri, one of your hosts, and a recovering English major who is having a lease on her pregnancy week by week right now. It could be any week, you guys.
I'm just, holding tight for whenever I get that text of I'm having the baby, or I don't even know. I don't know if you would text me beforehand. You probably wouldn't text me until afterwards, and it's just like I get the text.
Well, I might text you from the hospital. I might text you from the hospital. They're inducing me now. We'll see how long this takes.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for that text. Like, she's here. She's come to me, and hopefully we'll get a picture.
Well, I hope that it's not before really the 23rd of March, because my husband's boss is throwing us this baby shower on the 23rd. And I'm like, Livy might be here by then. Oops.
Oh man. Well, that's exciting. You get gifts. That's the exciting part about it.
I'm still attending, obviously.
Oh, of course. Exactly.
Just for the presents alone. But yeah, no, it's been weird because they told me, as I am, over 30, I am 35 or over as a high risk pregnancy and all the other things that have come up with it, the complications. They're like, anytime after 34 weeks is going to be where we're gonna, 34 or any other week. And my OB's like, you're definitely not making it to 40. I can guarantee you that. And I was like, great. So maybe Livy will be 1 week old or more by the time Secrets of Dumbledore come out.
Yeah, well, we knew that it was going to be around that time. I remember that because when they announced,
I am technically 40 weeks at Secrets of Dumbledore premiere.
Yeah, I remember you telling me your due date, and I was like, oh yeah, that's the same day as the movie. So yeah, I mean, she will be alive for it, I think, is what we can guarantee.
Yes, we can guarantee that. That or I will be laboring in the theaters. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
You came for a movie, a show,
and a birth. Here you go.
You're welcome.
Well,
and a legend is born.
Oh, I mean, that's doesn't even need to be said. That's obvious. Anyway, I'm your co-host and producer, Helene, and I'm also someone who is going through a lot of change in my life at the moment, and as just someone who does not handle change well, even though it is good change, I don't always handle good change well either. So there's a lot of emotions.
Is there anyone amongst us who handles uprooting and change, even if it's good, in such a chill way? I want to know this person.
Yeah, I probably am one of the worst people I know that in terms of handling change. I do not handle it well at all. But I'm trying, and I'm just trying to remember that it's all good stuff. Just take a breath. But yeah, that's me right now. Hi.
It's just hard. It's just hard. I get it.
I get it. Yeah.
And you know what else is hard? This fucking chapter. I'm sorry.
This chapter is a rough one.
What chapter, may you, listener, ask, is so hard that we are just kind of avoiding getting to it? That is chapter 28 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, titled Flight of the Prince.
This is the one where, overcome with grief and anger, Harry tears through the war zone that the halls of Hogwarts have become to hunt down Snape against all odds and attempt to get revenge for Dumbledore's murder. Finally reaching his target, he learns that Snape was the Half-Blood Prince all along, and is thwarted in battle by Snape's legitimacy. Hagrid's house is set on fire with Fang inside. Did not like that. And after escaping the flames, Harry tells him Dumbledore's fate. Hagrid refuses to believe him at first, but they're both forced to reckon with the truth when they see Dumbledore's body lying at the foot of the astronomy tower, along with the fake locket that didn't turn out to be a Horcrux after all.
Oof, bleak as hell.
Yeah.
Just...
oh, goodness.
I mean, at least Fang made it out alive. I don't think I could go on if Fang didn't make it out alive.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like, I knew that Fang survived, but I forgot that he like is trapped in a burning house for like a decent amount of time before you find out that he survives. I was like, oh my god, how did I forget about this? I must have blocked it out.
By the way, that would be my greatest fear right now, is to have
Right.
the dogs in the house and the house is on fire.
Yeah. I mean, also, have you seen This Is Us, guys? Spoiler alert
I
if
was
you
just
haven't.
going to say This Is Us. You are killing me.
Spoiler alert if you haven't seen This Is Us. But Jack dies because he goes back into the burning house to save the dog and then gets too much smoke inhalation and dies of a heart attack. So, like, this reason is the reason that Jack and This Is Us is dead. So it's very hurtful.
It has victimized us all.
Exactly. Just saving the dog from a fire. Bad things can happen.
But also would do it again 10 out of 10 times. I'm sorry.
I mean, yes. Yeah, I mean, I totally did not mean don't save dogs from burning houses. Like, I am 100% advocating for the saving of the dogs. I'm just saying it's traumatic.
You know what else is traumatic? The state of the world right now. So let's go into our Potter Watch segment. Please.
Yeah, I just wrote one word for this.
Well, one word is all you need, Helene.
Yeah. I was like, we're going to talk about it, and we don't need to. Yeah, so Ukraine is the word that I wrote for this week's Potter Watch. Are you surprised? Probably shouldn't be. Yeah,
Where to begin?
Putin's an asshole. He invaded Ukraine
under false pretenses.
Yeah, I mean,
by the way,
it's just
claiming there was a genocide of Russians in Ukraine, which is frustrating to say the least, enraging to say the least, when he has, one, no proof of that, and two, what he is doing is trying to commit genocide in Ukraine and take over Ukraine.
Yeah. I've heard some pretty awesome stories about like how the people of Ukraine are, you know, standing up to him and being resilient and really showing their strength and their character.
But they shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to.
No, they shouldn't have to. And I feel so much for their families and for everybody there who is having to you know, live under the fear that their home is going to be taken away from them or their loved ones are going to be hurt. It's just I just gotta say, I'm just so sick of living through unprecedented times and wars and pandemics.
Well, I'm also sick of living through precedented times when it comes to like wars and history repeating itself.
Oh, totally. Yeah, like no one ever fucking learns. So just, I mean, my heart goes out to all the people of Ukraine and it's fucking shitty, man.
Yeah, and like at some point I'm just like, I thought we were going to give them the worst sanctions, not lead up to it. It's looking like the US is leading up to it, not going with like just the nuclear button of sanctions. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I don't know the whole reasoning behind everything. I know that it's all very sensitive with, you know, nuclear war being like a definite possibility and Russia.
Oh yeah, that came out later this week. Yeah.
I mean, understandably, everybody's trying to just move with as much caution and everything that they can to make sure that we all don't just everybody on the planet doesn't die from nuclear war. I mean, that would be nice if we could avoid that. Complete apocalypse
would be nice. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, we just don't want a total apocalypse on our hands. So
let's just go back to the days where like total eclipse of the heart was the worst thing that could ever happen. That's a deep cut.
Anything further that you have to say about Ukraine?
I mean, it sucks what's happening. Like, I don't know what else to say. I was delighted though to learn that Ukraine's president is not just a lawyer, but also a comedian who starred in a political satire where his character becomes the president of Ukraine by accident.
Yes, Volodymyr Zelensky is his name.
Yes. Vladimir
And
Zelensky.
he seems like a pretty badass dude, just in general. So, yeah. Pro him.
He is
I'm
one of
pro
your
him.
people. He is
Yeah,
one of your people.
He is Jewish. He is Jewish. That is true.
And his wife is a writer, so, of course, I stand.
And she's one of your people. There you go.
It's just, one of the people I aspire to be, yes. She's a screenwriter, so, I'm like, yes, I stand this so hard.
Sweet.
They're quite the power couple. I'm very concerned, obviously, for their safety.
Right.
But
I mean, it was pretty badass of him when America, when we offered to get him out, and he was like, "I need ammunition, not a ride." I thought that was pretty badass of him. So
yeah, it's just kind of like, how the lawyer to politician pipeline was like a true and tried thing, but
yeah.
It's like, but guys, he's not just a lawyer.
All right. Well, should we move on to our Hogwarts Debate Club segment?
Yes, we shall.
So in this segment where we talk about what politic we think defines the chapter for us, I'll go first with my politic, and that was assassination. So from Wikipedia, the definition of assassination is the murder of a prominent or important person, such as a head of state, head of government, politician, member of a royal family, or CEO. And then later on in the Wikipedia article, it does have a section where it's like assassination as a tool of insurgents. And it says, insurgent groups have often employed assassination as a tool to further their causes. Assassinations provide several functions for such groups: the removal of specific enemies as a propaganda tool to focus the attention of media and politics on their cause. So the reason I wanted to kind of zoom in on that in terms of assassination specifically is that the Death Eaters in Voldemort assassinated Dumbledore to further their political causes and gain power quicker than and with more ease than they would have if he was alive, since he was a large obstacle standing in their way being alive. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't, I think that it's like they didn't just kill Dumbledore, basically. I think the word assassination has a context to it where it's like murder for the like a political motivation for murder, basically. Like usually the types of people who are assassinated are, presidents or social justice leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. Like these people are murdered because of a political reason, and usually their deaths have an impact on the policies or the things that they stood for, whether it's, usually it helps the other side achieve their political goals faster by killing these people. So with Dumbledore gone, the Order and the side of good, and at least, his side, has lost a extremely important and influential leader and a large asset in the fight against Voldemort. So that's why I think his death wasn't just, a murder or, I think it was an assassination for that cause specifically.
Well, that being said, my politics is related to yours as in the effect of after the assassination.
Yeah, totally.
So I wanted to talk about political grief. And I am taking this from Darcy Harris's synopsis of her article on political grief. So it says, grief is usually understood as the personal response to loss. Thus, there's a tendency to consider grief as an individual experience, most typically related to the death of a loved one. However, recent research and theory have provided a much more complex picture of grief as a broad, interdimensional experience that can be both generated and experienced at micro, meso, and macro levels. In this context, consideration is given to grief that occurs as a result of events that take place at the socio-political level, which can be experienced both individually and collectively. Collective grief may occur when the loss relates to a group where where commonly shared assumptions are shattered. The concept of political grief can be seen as a poignant sense of assault to the assumptive world of those who struggle with the ideology and practices of their governing bodies and those who hold political power. Likewise, political grief would also include the direct losses that are experienced by individuals as a result of political policies, ideologies, and oppression enacted and or empowered at the socio-political levels. Different theoretical perspectives, such as cultural backlash theory, the role of economic inequality within significant sectors, and predictions of the response to threat by terror management theory may help to understand the rise of governments that increase divisions and the sense of loss experienced by large groups within their jurisdiction. And for my argument, I would like to propose that Dumbledore was a political symbol to both Voldemort and the Resistance, and that the Resistance is feeling that political grief of losing that symbol.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Harry. Go ahead.
Sorry, it just reminds me a little bit of like the Hunger Games and like the Mockingjay, a little bit.
Yes.
Sorry, I just thought about. I was like, oh, like political symbol, like the Mockingjay and the Hunger Games. Okay, all right. Sorry,
but also,
go on.
Also President Snow was another political symbol.
Yeah.
I mean, of oppression, but
yeah, not a good symbol. Yeah, no, I get you.
But his followers did probably grieve his loss, right? And the people under Snow, while he was alive, were grieving their losses as well.
Yeah.
Of, liberty, of the people from their community that were basically given to the Hunger Games each year because only one can survive,
Oh man, I want to reread those books. I want to reread them, and it would actually be really cool to do a podcast about them because I don't know if there are any podcasts.
Excuse me, why did you take the words out of my mouth?
I'm like, are there any Hunger Games podcasts? This is totally off topic now. I'm sorry.
Probably yes, but who says we can't do one?
I mean, it's political. I mean, if anything, we could do the politics of the Hunger Games. How cool would that be?
I mean,
listeners,
yes.
Do you want this? If you want this, listeners, let us know. We'll think about it.
Also, even if you don't want it, who says we're not going to make it?
Yeah, I mean, we'll do whatever the hell we want in the end. But if you do want it, that might help us push this decision.
Push faster. Us in the right direction, which is making it.
Exactly.
So, in this chapter, we see Harry, Hagrid, and even Snape, I suppose, dealing with their grief.
Yeah.
Of, the grief of Dumbledore's death. And we know this about Snape because, we read the ending of the series, not because we see it really happening in real time right now.
Right.
Harry doesn't know about this. So for Snape, it's the illusion of fleeing, but still keeping up with Dumbledore's orders that is letting him process something. Right. That's how he's processing this grief of what he has just done. For Harry, it's trying to avenge his mentor's death, a mentor that meant something so deeply political to Harry. Because, Dumbledore was the symbol of everything is going to be all right. Good will triumph in the end.
Well, Dumbledore he's always known Dumbledore as the one wizard that Voldemort was afraid of.
Correct. And also he has, all this, list of accomplishments and, right. He's the hope for Harry that he can have a semblance of a normal life in this world. And for Hagrid, he deals with it as a denial. As this is the most relatable to me that Hagrid has ever been. One, saving his dog from a burning building. Two, just being in complete denial.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. I would agree.
He's like, yeah, Dumbledore will sort this out. Sorry to tell you, he's dead. What do you mean he can't be dead? You must have misunderstood this.
Yeah, you must be mistaken. There's no way.
There's no way. What are you talking about? Dumbledore dead? Can't even be in the same sentence. Other than is not dead.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, I considered doing the politics of mourning for mine, and I decided uh, not to. And I'm glad because yours is kind of similar, and I'm glad that we have two different takes on it for sure.
But I feel like yours comes before mine in a way. Because your like assassination is like prominent figure, like or like a or someone that like means something to people, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like Martin Luther King Jr., for
yeah,
instance. And then mine is like the aftermath of that.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, what happens when you murder a political symbol? You get political grief.
Among
Like,
other things.
among lots of other
Yes.
things. Yes, yes, for sure. But yeah, I mean, because like some random, like some like random person on the street, if they get murdered, like we don't like if like say if I don't know, God forbid, like say your friend got murdered, you wouldn't say like, oh, that person was assassinated, because there's a different meaning behind that.
There's a threshold for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that we were talking about Ukraine in Potter Watch, which is like
Hmm.
why I am so concerned about, Vladimir Zelensky and his family's safety, because
Yeah.
they are a clear target for assassination
Right.
from the powers that be in Russia.
Yeah.
Because the fastest way, right, to overcome a people sometimes is by destroying hope. And if this, and if the president, of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, is that figure of hope, as we have been learning through the news, right? Then, I mean, it could backfire, but it could also work, which is
Yeah.
why he's a target.
Yeah. Yeah. The fastest way to extinguish the hope is to extinguish the symbol of the hope, and that
Correct.
person, that person who brings the hope to the people. So
Yeah.
definitely.
All right, Helene, let's go deep into our politics in this chapter. What was your quote for assassination?
Well, it was hard for me to pick one.
Or moment, sorry.
No, that's okay. It was hard for me to pick one this chapter, because technically the assassination happened in the last chapter at the end. Um and so like there wasn't really one moment or quote that in the chapter that embodied the politic itself, because the chapter is actually not about the act of assassination, but it's illustrating the chaos and the emotions that occur after someone is assassinated.
Do you
And
maybe
just
think
kind of
that I'm sorry to interrupt.
no,
But do
go
you
ahead.
think maybe that moment where we as the reader see Dumbledore's like body could be like
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, because yeah, like I said, the entire chapter is illustrating that chaos, but it's also just like the whole chapter just kind of shows that temporary lawlessness, that kind of like the lack of structure that a society has in that short amount of time right after they lose someone that was such an important like figure to them. And so I mean, I could see, ever seeing Dumbledore's body as being the moment, but I also could see just like the moment being just Harry running through the halls of Hogwarts, just like seeing just the active war zone around him, and like just running past all these acts of horror that are happening in the halls on his way to find Snape out in the courtyard,
mhm.
because I feel like that complete and utter just chaos and just everything that's going on around him is kind of what happens when you lose someone like Dumbledore, even though the people don't really know that that's what's happened yet, if that makes sense.
Okay. So my quote is the following. He stumbled towards the burning house as an enormous figure emerged from out of the flames carrying Fang on his back. With a cry of thankfulness, Harry sank to his knees. He was shaking in every limb. His body ached all over, and his breath came in painful stabs. So it is in this moment of renewed hope in something like not small, because he loves Hagrid and he loves Fang, but that, oh my god, thank god I'm not losing someone else.
Yeah.
That Harry is finally able to somehow process his grief physically.
Mm-hmm.
I know emotionally it's going to take a lot of time, but like those are the physical manifestations of his grief as he shatters, like from after the intense, like just like you said, lawlessness of it all.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good observation.
Also, I feel him. Like I understand. Like I could probably not feel anything because of adrenaline, and then once that adrenaline is gone, because you have like a moment of reprieve, your body's shutting down. Has happened to me many
Yeah.
a times.
I'm sure that it is a relatable experience for many people.
So, who was your character for this chapter who like exemplified assassination, the politics of assassination?
Well, I picked the what's the word for the person who did the assassinating? The assassinator? Is that a word?
The assassin?
That's the word. I knew there was a word and I couldn't think of the word. I was like, I know there's a word. I don't know what it is. But you're right. Yes, it is assassin. How did I forget that that was a word? There we go. Yes. So I picked the assassin, him's the assassinator. Oh my god. Anyway. That's what I'm going to call him from now
Severus
on.
Snape, assassinator.
The assassinator. It's like the Terminator, but
Yeah.
different.
Could you imagine Snape being like, I will be back?
I'll be back. Yeah, I'm sure he said that as he was leaving Hogwarts. Anyway, yes, the assassin himself, Snape, is the one that I chose for this chapter. Enough about me. What about you?
I'm still reeling from Assassinator.
I know, I
this
can't.
Name,
the second you said assassin, I was like, fuck. I knew that was I was like, how did I forget that word?
This may have to be the title of the show.
The Assassinator. Okay, sounds good.
The Assassinator. The character that I chose to associate with the politics of grief is Harry, because
he's the griefinator.
He goes through a lot in grief during this chapter. Like, he goes from action to relief to like just his body giving up on him to kind of like an acceptance and like feeling sorry for Hagrid because Hagrid's in denial.
Yeah, I feel like
and
he experiences grief in so many different forms in this chapter.
Obviously, we're getting it from his point of view because it's, third person, like,
right,
with him mostly. So, but still, I'm just like, poor Harry. Like, he has been through it all. He's like, I knew the moment like the spell lifted that could only mean that he was dead.
And like we talked about this a lot at the end of Order when Sirius died, but like he goes through almost every stage of grief.
Step.
Yeah.
Well, and then he sees the locket, which kind of like starts another process of grief for him.
Yeah, because like immediately it's anger, right? Like anger. I don't know if I think at the end of the last chapter is kind of like when he felt the denial, because I don't think he really went through a lot of denial for this one, because he saw it, like he saw it happen. He says,
but part of him was in denial, but like the other part really wasn't. So like the conscious part of him wasn't.
And like he says at the end of the chapter too, he actually like knew immediately when the body bind curse lifted. He couldn't deny because he's like, the curse would have only lifted if the person who cast it was no longer alive, or if they had lifted it. But like he knew that when he could move again, that's when Dumbledore stopped living. That was the moment that Dumbledore stopped living. And so like
and then he like I mean, I know that I've said this before, but I feel like it bears repeating. Then a new cycle of grief or a new depth of grief begins the moment he realizes the locket is not the Horcrux.
Right.
That they were looking for.
Then he starts, questioning, oh, did he die for nothing? Right.
Correct. Which is like another level. Yeah. It's one thing when you think you're dying for like something.
Yeah.
or putting people in peril because of something, and
But
then
not everything, not every death, not everything has to have meaning, and not every death has to be meaningful. Death is senseless. Death has is just it happens every day for no reason sometimes, and yeah,
yeah,
it's
and that sucks. But like
yeah,
Harry thought that they were like actively looking for something and they had gotten it.
yeah,
And then it's like, oh, all this sacrifice, all we have gone through, all this, like, even let's say that he's not even mad that he died, but like he's mad that he suffered
yeah.
because of the potion.
It's just another thing that's like kicking him when he's down. Yeah,
Yeah, just another thing that life just dealt to him.
yeah. Well,
anyway, how do you see assassination throughout the book?
yeah, throughout the book, I went with the obvious for me was Draco. Throughout the book, his entire storyline was him being tasked with this assassination. He was
With
meant to
being the
be.
assassinator, you
Yeah,
mean?
I was just about to say he was meant to be the assassinator. So, yeah. So Draco is the theme throughout the book. What about you for grief?
This book is about grief and the aftermaths of grief and how grief can come in many forms and how it can start afresh just when you think you've like gotten over something. As we know, Harry has come to a head with many things in this book. Sirius' death, which was symbolic of his loss of family, and now Dumbledore's death, which begins the cycle of grief once again, this time targeting his political beliefs and just hope.
Yeah, the entire first half of this book is Harry just being, angsty because of
Because
grief.
he's grieving Sirius Black, yes. And
Yeah,
now it's
just like all of book 5, he's angsty because he was grieving Cedric. So
Cedric.
yeah,
It's just death after death after death, like 3 books in a row of
I know.
Harry losing friendship or camaraderie, family, and now hope.
Yeah, poor guy, poor my boy, my baby.
Poor
Well,
Harry.
I love Harry, and you know what else I love? Chocolate. And so that's why
But
we're
we
gonna
don't
do
love
Dementors and
Dementors.
Chocolate Night. Yes. I was like, how do I make this into Dementors and Chocolate? I don't know how to do the segue. Sorry, that was a bad segue.
You know what we didn't love? This chapter. You know what also we don't love? Dementors.
There we go. Yeah, you're so much better at it than I am.
I don't know. You're not. I'm not. I'm just saying words out there. So my Dementor. Can I just say like the whole chapter? Because like, what a
I mean,
downer,
that's
man.
fair.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, but
fair.
if I had to, just like Snape not showing any real concern for Harry after what he knows he's just been through.
I mean, yeah, he has to put up pretenses because he has to like make he's there. All of his bad guy friends are there, and he has to make himself look like a bad guy in front of all of his Death Eater buds.
Yeah.
So
Whatever. I'm over it. I'm over it.
I get it. No, I mean my Dementor was also Snape, but not just because he like. I mean, it's part of it. Basically, my Dementor is Snape somehow still managing to turn this into some like weird dick fight about Harry's dad. Like, you just murdered Dumbledore. Why are you bringing up James Potter again? Like, and I was like, how does this always fucking come up? So, anyways, the quote of what I am referring to is, "Coward, did you call me, Potter?" shouted Snape. "Your father would never attack me unless it was 4-on-1. What would you call him, I wonder?"
Ugh,
Like,
gross.
I was like, why the fuck? Like, why does James have to literally come up in every single goddamn conversation this man has? I'm like, you literally just murdered Dumbledore in front of Harry. And, like, this is not the time to be calling his father a coward after you just murdered his father figure in front of him. Like, and he knows this. He knows that Dumbledore meant a lot to Harry. He knows that Harry didn't know that it was a mercy killing, or that like Dumbledore had asked him to do it, or whatever the fuck this situation was. He doesn't know that Snape is not who he thinks he is. Pissed me off. I was like, really? Right now? You're going to do this?
Well, of course, because he just doesn't know how to pick his moments, honestly.
It's just like, he's so petty and obsessive, and he just cannot fucking, everything has to be about this bully that he had when he was a kid. Like, grow up.
Well, let's move on to chocolates. My chocolate is Buckbeak attacking Snape.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
all I
good.
have because
He
it's
fucking deserves
bleak as
it.
hell.
Yeah, he deserves it. Yeah, I mean, sure, that can be my chocolate too then, because I had nothing. It was just this
Also, like
chapter.
Fang surviving, you know?
Yeah, that was good. I mean, the fact that I had to go through the stress of like forgetting that he might not even like, I forgot that he even got stuck in the house. I mean, that was not great. But yeah, I had nothing because the chapter was such a fucking bummer. But I'll go with those like small nuggets. Sure.
Honestly, when I read the part about Buckbeak attacking Snape, I was like, good for him. Like,
Right.
just like Lucille Bluth, like, just good for him.
Right. Gosh.
You know what's not a bummer? Our Patreon. Why? Because you get really cool rewards every episode. So, if you would like to get cool rewards and join our exclusive club, which again, not a bummer, you can go to patreon.com/occupolitics.
Yes, if you do that, then a pledge of $2 a month will get you access to bonus content for every episode, and $5 and $10 month pledges will get you physical rewards every 3 months.
And speaking of which, our Patreon exclusive content, this time it's about our complicated feelings about Snape. Are they complicated after all?
No, I just hate him. That's the whole Patreon segment.
But Helene, we come with nuance.
I'm sure
in
that
this
there's going to be
show.
more. I wasn't the one that Adri is the one that crafted this one, so I'm sure there's more to that. I'm just telling you right now, I hate him. There's that.
I mean, same, but also let's talk through the hate.
Yes.
Like, why
We'll
exactly do
unpack
we
it.
hate him?
Stay tuned and we'll
hate.
unpack it. We'll unpack it. Yeah, exactly.
And perhaps come up with some redeeming qualities, but I can't promise that.
After this chapter?
Really, I just really chose the right time, huh?
Anyway.
Anyhow, every week or every episode, we ask a question of you, our lovely listeners, and you never disappoint. But let's talk about last week's question or last time's question, which was, what do you think is the main reason Draco joined the Death Eaters in the book, The Half-Blood Prince?
All right. Yes, we got great answers this week, as we do every week. So thank you guys. I'm going to read through some of the ones we got. So Giddle_GT listed upbringing, expectations, and pressure for reasons that Draco joined the Death Eaters. I mean, yeah. Ace Firesash, aka Rex, he said, pressure from his family. It is something his entire family is part of and supports. He does not want to make his parents upset and knows if he doesn't join Voldemort, he can potentially harm his parents, which he does not want. Okay,
which
so
goes
like
up with your theory of like child soldier.
Yeah, so family loyalty, I think, is kind of the main one that Rex seems to be agreeing with. Family loyalty. And then Alice Mooney 1990 on Instagram said, most definitely pressure. His dad and aunt were in Voldemort's inner circle. His favorite teacher at Hogwarts was too. I'm sure also though in a way it was to please his father and aunt most of all. So yeah, Alice goes with pressure and then also family loyalty, I guess, which pressure can come from family loyalty, honestly. V42 on Instagram said, don't forget the power, though. He whipped out that black mark at Borgin and Burke's pretty damn quick. He was a petty bully who probably enjoyed lording it over others, even as he sobbed to a ghost about it being lorded over him. I'm inclined to agree with this. Like, while I do believe a lot of it was pressure and family expectations and upbringing and all of that, I do think that he probably to a degree liked the pressure and the reputation that comes with it. Not the pressure, the power and the reputation that comes with it. At Charvale on Twitter said, some of it was his own arrogance and desire to be great, and the other was family pressure. A lot of kids end up doing things they don't agree with or like because of family pressure. It also doesn't help that his parents were hosting the Dark Lord at their private home.
I mean, like, yeah, so the Airbnb reservation that Lord Voldemort had on the Malfoy Manor also had something to do with it.
Right. Rock Climbing Girl 23 on Instagram said he wanted to uphold a reputation that had been set. I don't think he wanted to be one. And then at SGT Eat Me 2012 said, easy answer. Serving Voldemort is a family tradition. So
I think that that's supposed to be at Sergeant Eat Me 2012, which I find super funny.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if that. I mean, it could be SG Teat Me. I don't know, but I feel like.
Well, I mean, that could also
just
be
like
super hilarious.
Or it could be SGTE at me. I don't know. It could be. I don't know. Anyway, there are lots of interpretations. I'm not going to presume. Whoever you are, you have a great.
You made me snort.
Yeah, you have a great Twitter handle. Anyway, I just after like reading all through all of these, I think most people tend to think that it is family pressure, family obligation, upbringing, having to do
tradition.
with tradition. Yeah, everything that is family. His family is the main reason why he's doing this, which I think is a fair read, but I do agree with Scurvy42 to a degree that although he most likely was like scared and didn't always want to do this, I think there was a part of him that did like kind of feed off of it.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Helene. Do you think there are any parallels between like Draco and Regulus Black in a way?
Yeah, I think there probably are a lot of those.
Where perhaps like they joined because they were like believers or because family tradition or whatnot, right? And
I think that there are parallels, but I think that Regulus Black is much braver than Draco.
Okay, yeah, but like it's funny that we like get our first glimpse of Regulus Black's like legacy, right?
In this chapter, yeah.
In this chapter.
Right. Because Harry reads his note in this chapter that he left in the locket.
Where like Draco is fleeing with the Death Eaters.
Right. No, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Something to think about.
I just think that like, I think that the parallels are strong and they're there, but I can't help but think of like, if Draco were in Regulus's position, would he have done what Regulus did? And I think he would not have done what Regulus did.
Well, he would have had to really value his house elf to really do what Regulus did.
I just don't think that he would have stood up to Voldemort in that way and risked being murdered because if Voldemort ever found out,
Yeah. Just a thought. I was just, it was one of those things where I was like,
no, I think
I wonder.
It's a great observation. Yeah. I can definitely see that. All right. Okay.
All right. So this chapter, as we've discussed, is a bummer and a half. So this episode, we're asking a slightly less morose question, I hope, than anything that happened in this chapter. And the question is the following. If you could save any one character from the entire series, from their textual death, who would it be and why?
Yes. I'm sitting next to Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore cat version right now, and he's being very cute letting me pet him. And it's just fitting because...
That's who you would pick?
Well, it's fitting because Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore book version dies, and now I get the cat. And at least the cat's alive, I gotta say. I'm grateful for that.
Well, you and I can discuss our picks next time and not spoil our listeners.
Yes, yeah. I think I know who I would choose, but I'll think on it for a little bit, and I'll tell you guys next time.
I'll think about it the entire week, and then I'll probably overthink it to death and then say, no one.
What, me? No, I would never do that. What are you talking about? Crazy talk.
Crazy talk. You know what's not crazy talk? Media we've been consuming, because we've gotten to that point in our podcast where we talk about the non-Harry Potter stuff we've been watching or listening to or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's your media, Helene?
Yeah, I have a good one this week. I finally sat down and watched Coda, the movie Coda. It's an Apple TV Plus movie that has been nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars this year. And for good reason. So, for those who don't know anything about it, CODA stands for Child of Deaf Adult. And it is about a young girl named Ruby who is the only hearing person in her family. Both of her parents and her brother are deaf. She's the only person that is hearing. And so she's had to live her entire life as basically their interpreter, kind of her family's bridge to the hearing worlds. They work on a fishing boat, and she has to be the one to like speak for them at meetings and speak for them to like the people selling their fish and all of that. And they decide they want to open their own business about it, and like they really rely on her to interpret and be that person for them. But she finds out she actually loves singing, and so she finds the passion she has for singing, and it's of course the one thing that her family can't enjoy or hear her do. And so she decides that she wants to pursue that at the detriment of, being that person for her family, not being able to be there for them. And it's just really touching. It's really emotional, and it shows these intimate stories that happen every day that if you're hearing, you might not have insight into. So I cried many times. It was beautifully written, beautifully acted, and I highly recommend it.
All right. Look, adding that to my when I feel better about the world type of movie. I probably
Yeah.
cannot handle it right now with all these pregnancy hormones surging through my body.
Honestly, I mean, it's not like it's sad in the fact that like you're seeing these people's struggles, but like
I'm sure it's uplifting at the end, but like I just don't want to be crying.
Yeah, it's just very sweet and just intimate and emotional, and I loved it.
Okay, well, I'm just saying I'm not sure I want to have that level of crying.
That's fair.
In my life at this moment. So true to form, this is a very topical thing that I've been consuming, which is lists of what to pack for the hospital in my go bag.
I can't believe that's your media. Oh my gosh. No,
I've been very busy, Helene.
Oh, that's funny.
So I couldn't think of anything, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been doing that. Literally, that's all I've been doing, and just collecting all the things and putting them in boxes.
Next week, your media is going to be texts that I wrote to my mom about the baby. I
don't know. She's here. My mom is here, so we're all
okay. You don't have to text her. It can be texts that I wrote to you about the baby.
Yeah, grandma's here and she's ready. She's like, you came at 32 weeks. I'm not missing this. So she's been here since week 33 onwards.
Aww.
So, I mean, as of this recording, I turned 34 weeks tomorrow, which is anytime after 34, I'm living week to week.
Heck yeah. Well, she's coming, and she's coming soon.
Well, maybe she just wants to know the secret of Dumbledore really badly.
She does. She's very eager to learn it.
It's I'm just little girl, you can wait. You can wait. Well, that's it for today's episode. You can join us next time as we talk about Chapter 29 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, The Phoenix Lament.
Yeah, and if you've enjoyed this conversation where I make up words because I can't remember the actual word, please take a second to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this right now. It helps new listeners discover the podcast, and maybe it'll make it so that you don't get assassinated.
Yeah, maybe like instead of mourners, next time it's going to be like the mourning raiders or like
more
like
narrators. No, so I made a joke that I earlier in the episode that you must not have heard, but I think when we were saying what our characters were for the chapter, you said Harry, and I was like, is it because he's the Griefinator? And I don't think you heard me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not hear you. That is an excellent joke.
Because you just kind of kept going, and I was like, she must not have heard me, because I feel like she would have laughed if she heard me.
That is an excellent joke, and I am so sorry to have missed it.
That's okay. No, we make up words in this podcast. That's what we do. If you're a Griefinator or Assassinator, whatever you are, please go rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts.
And let's be real, that is the sign of a great mind, because who else made up words? Shakespeare. You're welcome.
I mean, I am the Shakespeare of today.
Yes,
correct.
Correct. Helene Carp, the new Shakespeare.
Yep.
You're welcome, world.
Yep.
Well, until then, politics vanished. Support this show by going to patreon.com/Occhiopolitics. Our patrons keep this show going. You can find us online at Occhiopolitics.com, and we are at Occhiopolitics on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can email us your thoughts at info@Occhiopolitics.com. Leave us a voicemail at 915-996-1699, and you might just hear yourself on the podcast. Adriana Wilson is the founder and creative director of the podcast. Helene Carp is the producer and social media manager. Allison Pullman is the audio wizard and editor who makes us sound so good. Cover art and physical rewards are designed by Adriana Wilson. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are expressly their own and not representative of their employers or associates. Occhiopolitics is part of the MuggleNet family of podcasts.